So, as you know, you're here for graduate study, master's and PhD, PhDs. So now we have a very special guest to give a speech on preparing for graduate study, Dr. Andrea Armani. Dr. Armani is the Floor Early Career Chair in Engineering at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering and Director of NG-Ion Squared. She is also an Associate Professor of Chemical Engineering, Material Science, and holds courtesy appointments in Electrical Engineering, Biomedical Engineering, and Chemistry at USC. She's received numerous awards and recognitions, including the Presidential Early Career Award for Scientists and Engineers. In addition, her dedication to mentoring the next generation of scientists and engineers has been recognized with the USC Mellon Mentoring Award for Undergraduate Mentoring and Hannah Reisler Award for Mentoring. Dr. Armani received her BA in Physics from the University of Chicago and her PhD in Physics from the California Institute of Technology, otherwise known as Caltech. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Andrea Armani.
Everyone here wants to make sure at the end of the day you have all of your questions answered, but if you realize you've forgotten one, you should feel free to ask it at a later date, whether that's Monday in July, or Monday in September. We're all here to help you figure out what your future may hold. And excellent, you're all pulling out paper. Great. Okay, so my presentation is basically over what is the difference between a master's and a PhD. Right? They're both called graduate school, but they're both very different. So what exactly does it mean to get a master's? What does it mean to get a PhD? What will happen during both of these? How do you choose between the two? Are you really making a choice? And what are the details, right? Like everyone says they're going to get a master's. What does that actually entail? What are the logistics? Everyone goes and gets a bachelor's. That's 4 years. You take classes. You kind of know what you're signing up for. What are you actually signing up for if you get a master's degree? And then the application process, right? Like if you decide you want a bachelor's degree, which all of you are getting successfully, congratulations. You kind of figured that out in high school, right? Like what is the actual application process if you decide you want to do this for grad school? I know when I applied to grad school, I was the first person in my family to apply for grad school. I didn't really have parents to rely on. They could give me absolutely no advice. So, how exactly are you going to do this? At any point during this, if you have questions, interrupt me. I want to make sure you don't forget your question. That's like the worst thing. So if you have a question, raise your hand. I will call on you. Don't be afraid. I promise, I'm a nice person. I promise, or at least I think I'm a nice person, right? But everyone thinks they're a nice person. Okay, so master's. So a master's degree is basically an extension of your undergrad coursework, but harder. In other words, if you've taken thermodynamics and you liked learning how a sphere is formed due to the 3 laws of thermodynamics, you will now learn why a cylinder is sometimes formed if you have a temperature gradient. So you learn just more complex levels. So it's kind of like taking your undergrad coursework to the next level. There are some master's programs that also involve a master's thesis, meaning you get to get your hands dirty. So you actually get to do research. So that kind of is the master's program. It's typically 1 to 2 years. So it's like half of your bachelor's degree in terms of time. However, your bachelor's degree might have involved things like general education courses, like history. Your master's degree doesn't involve those. Your master's degree is all engineering all the time. So it's very intense, which is why it's 2 years, right, not 4, but you learn more information, more focused. Okay, a PhD. A PhD includes your master's. So you actually get a master's degree during your PhD. So this is very important because a lot of times, and I was in this batch of students, I thought I had to get a master's degree and then apply for a PhD program. No. You get your bachelor's degree and you apply for PhD programs, direct. And you get your master's in the first year. And then you just continue in the PhD program. So it's you technically get it like free. I mean, you can go to like the master's graduation ceremony, and if your parents are super excited about going to graduation ceremonies, you're gonna go to the graduation ceremony. I say this because I got to do it. But it's not like a requirement. So it's typically like 5 years in engineering. I want to emphasize that because in the sciences, like physics, it's like 6 to 8 years. Yeah, not fun. And it's simply because of the nature of the research you do. So engineering, much more applied. You're actually going to build something, show that it works. In science, it's much more discovery-based. Discoveries sometimes work, sometimes they don't work. So then you're there longer. So engineering, 5 years-ish, sometimes 4.5, sometimes 5.5, but shorter. So if you talk to your friends in biology and you tell them your PhD is going to be 5 years, and they say you're crazy, you can say no, it's 5 years. I got this, I heard this, and it's fact. The like national average is like 5 years and 1 month. So this isn't like a Professor Armani thing. This is like a national average thing. Okay, so it ends with a thesis. So a PhD, definitely research-based, definitely thesis. So this is the example of chemical engineering coursework at USC, just so I could have a really concrete logistic example. So to get a master's degree at USC in chemical engineering, you take all of those courses, plus you take 3 electives. And you can take 3 electives anywhere in the School of Engineering, as long as they're vaguely related to engineering, and as long as they're in the School of Engineering, they're related. So you're good. To get the PhD, you take the same series of courses, which is why you get your master's degree, and then you take additional courses. And the Chemi 590 and Chemi 594, AB star, meaning you take it N times, that's your research. So 590 and 594 is not actually a class, meaning you don't like go to class and get a grade or do homework. That's basically you go to the lab that your advisor is in charge of, and you do research, and you perform experiments, or you do modeling, or you do chalkboard theory. It depends what makes you excited. It depends what your research advisor does. So that's the 590, 594. So it's not a class, but you need to be a registered student, so then you have to register for a class. So that's why with the PhD, you actually get the master's. Everybody get that? Yay! I haven't lost anyone yet. I'm on like slide 3, so that's good. Just checking. So the logistical outline of a PhD, first year and a half, you take coursework. At the end of the first year, typically, you take something called the screening exam or the qualifying exam. Depending on the school, it might be called a screening exam or it might be called a qualifying exam. And this can even be different departments within the same school. So this is important because if you go to USC versus if you go to Caltech versus if you go to Stanford, they're going to use different language, but it's the same thing. All it means is, and actually kind of has to do with the philosophy. So a screening exam kind of implies that they're going to screen out like 50% of you, right? Which is a mindset, right? Whereas a qualifying exam simply means that they're going to make sure you're qualified to continue, right? But it's not a screen, right? They're just checking to make sure you're qualified. So it's also kind of indicative of, are we a family? Or are we just an institution? So at USC, it's actually called a qualifying exam, not a screening exam, because we're all a family and we all like each other. Anyway, okay, so the screening or qualifying exam can be written or oral, or it can be committee-based. So depending on you as a student, sometimes people like the written ones, sometimes people like the oral ones. It covers all of your coursework that you've taken in your field to date. So this is a comprehensive exam. You will never be as smart in your field as you are on the day you take the exam, because you will know everything about every subject. After this exam, your knowledge in many subjects will go down. On the other hand, you will become really smart and really have really good depth of knowledge in a few subjects. So you will lose some breadth. For example, the day I took my exam, I knew particle physics really well. I don't know particle physics really well anymore. I could kind of fake it a little bit, but if anyone really pushed me, it'd be all over. On the other hand, I know optics really well. The day I took my exam, I knew very little optics because it wasn't a required undergrad course. It wasn't even a required grad course. So I'd never even taken a class in it. But then my PhD was in optics. So I know a lot more optics now than I ever did. So it's kind of a balance. So then your second year, third year, you do research. Then somewhere during your second and third year, kind of depends again on the school and the department, you take something called a candidacy exam. So your candidacy exam is kind of a transition point. It's when you officially become a candidate to get a PhD. During your candidacy exam, it's called an exam, but really it's a discussion. So I tell my students if they fail their qualifying exam, it's kind of on them, right? Like that's all about their coursework. It's all about how well they know their material. It's all about how well they know their field. Their candidacy exam, if they fail it, it's kind of on them, but kind of on me too. Because at their candidacy exam, they present all of their research they've done in my group to date. They also present their plan for like the next 2 years to actually get their PhD. If I haven't done a good job advising them, if I haven't done a good job helping them lay out their PhD plan, that's my job, right? So it means I have been slacking on my job, which is my fault, right? Like I shouldn't do that. So when a student goes up for their candidacy exam, they should pass. If they don't pass, then usually it's not a fail and you fail out of grad school. It's usually you need to go back to the drawing board, maybe revise, specific aim 3, have a little bit more detail on how you're planning on doing this experiment or design a control, but it's truly a discussion, right? Because everyone on your committee wants to make sure that you have a good plan, that you're gonna get a PhD. So the one example I remember for a student who had to do that going back to the drawing board, it was actually a student who was the first PhD student of an assistant professor. So the professor was new at it, right? Like they'd never had a student before. And they came up with a plan for their student that was impossible to accomplish in 5 years, right? It was kind of the professor's fault, but it was their first student, right? So, the other faculty members on the committee kind of jumped in, helped the professor learn how to be a professor, helped the student learn how to be a student, but it was a mentoring experience for everyone, and no one was punished, right? And everyone learned. So that's kind of the candidacy exam. Also, your candidacy committee is a very important committee. These people are your champions for the rest of your life. If you ever need a recommendation letter, that's your candidacy committee. If something happens to your advisor, that's your candidacy committee, because they know what you're supposed to do, so they can oversee you for the last year of your PhD. So these faculty members aren't your enemies. This isn't antagonistic. This is very supportive. So these faculty members can really step in and help. And professors, we're human, we don't live forever, right? Like it's very important to have a good relationship with your committee. And then the last year or the last 2 years, you do research, and then it ends with your thesis defense. So your thesis defense is awesome. So it's called a defense, but really it could be called like a thesis brag. Because you basically sit in a room for like an hour, hour and a half, give a presentation over your research, right? Over everything you've been doing for the previous 5 years. And this is your work, so you know it better than anyone else on the planet. It may be a femto sliver of a field, but it's yours, you own it. So it doesn't really matter what question anyone asks you, you can answer it because you invented it. And so it's great because everybody has to sit and listen to you brag about all the great things you did, and they can't really tell you to be quiet. So at the end of it, you pass, because again, if you don't, it's kind of your advisor's fault, and it looks really bad for your advisor, so your advisor's gonna make sure you pass. And usually there's champagne in the back of the room. So I've never known anyone who didn't pass. I've known a lot of people. It would almost be like going to a wedding and the bride and groom didn't get married. Or it would be that level of embarrassing. And if that happened, people like states away find out about it. So I would even know like if it happened to a friend of a friend of a friend, right? Like I would know that level of knowing. So it's great. So like your thesis defense day, you usually have like after party planned, and then the after party planned, and then parents fly into town just as your defense. It's awesome. So that's your thesis defense. So everyone like really looks forward to it. I had 3 students defend in March. It was like crazy. A lot of parties. Which I'm sure all of you are probably super excited about. Okay. I'm very different. I'm older. Don't really. I was exhausted. Okay, so this is an example of an electrical engineering PhD. I'm trying to spread out the degree program so everyone feels some love. So this is an electrical engineering PhD, obviously not mine. So year 1, year 2, they're kind of crammed together on that timeline because those classes. Then like halfway through year 2, the student invented a new device. Then halfway through year 3, they showed that it was actually useful, right? Just because you invent something doesn't mean it's useful. I could invent a chair that had like 15 legs. 4 is good. We don't need 15. So they actually showed it was useful. Halfway through year 4, about a quarter, they showed that it was actually useful in a different application. Then they showed it was useful in a completely different application. Then like a couple months in year 5, they made a completely new device, and then they got a job offer and left, defended and graduated. So this is kind of like a standard thesis. So key things to consider when you're thinking about trying to choose between a master's versus a PhD, which is a very common consideration, right? Like 2 years versus 5 years, which one do you want to do? How do you know it's right for you? And also what school do you choose, right? Like how do you pick a school? There's a lot of schools out there. Bachelor's degree, when you're trying to pick a school, it was mainly like school rank, also school environment, right? Like could you actually see yourself fitting in there for 4 years? When I was trying to choose a school for undergrad, I knew I wanted to go somewhere in the north. I grew up in the south. I wanted to go somewhere where it snowed. I also wanted to go, I regretted that. I also wanted to go somewhere that had a good physics program, and I thought, although I was wrong, that I wanted to go to a small school. Again, kind of wrong about that, that's fine. All of those things. So then a master's program, you want to look at school rank, you want to look at school environment, small versus large again, what clubs, maybe both clubs, academic and non-academic clubs, right, like spread your wings. Also career opportunities, right, job placement for master's students, right, so like how good are they at actually getting their students jobs? For a PhD program, the list changes completely. So a PhD program, you're going to do research, which means really the most important thing is the advisor, right? Who are you going to work for? When people ask me where I got my PhD, their second question is, who did you work for? Because that tells them who trained me, right? It's almost like an apprenticeship. Because even at Caltech, there are good advisors and there are bad advisors. So who trained me and who taught me how to be the scientist I am is the most important factor. So the advisor, then the research interest overlap, right? Like within physics, there's kind of applied physics, there's very fundamental physics, there's particle physics, so I don't really like theoretical physics. So if everybody in a department did theory, I wouldn't want to be at that school. So how do you make sure that what you want to do is actually offered at that school? So looking at research interest. Then the research group fit, right? Are you the kind of person that wants to be in a large group or a small group? Do you want to work with an advisor, right, a boss that's very hands-on and is going to sit next to you in the lab? Do you want to work with one that's very hands-off and it's going to kind of give you direction from an office but give you more freedom? And this is a personal choice, right? Like some students want the more hands-on advisor, some want the more hands-off advisor, some want to be in a larger group, some want to be in a smaller group. So these are kind of things you need to think about as you're, this summer, you all have time, right? So start thinking about what type of environments would make you happy. Because you're going to spend, 5 years here. So you're always going to be more productive if you're happy. So try to figure out where you're going to be happy and where you're going to be satisfied. And then after that comes the school rank, the school environment, what kind of PhD students you're going to get to network with, because that's going to be your network for the rest of your life. And then career opportunities and job placement. Wow, no questions so far. Awesome. Yes?
Hello, my name is Acacia Hines. I go to Illinois State University. My questions are more about the PhD network. Can you kind of give more information about that specifically?
Yep. So questions about PhD networking. So there are a lot of different types of PhD networking. So for example, at USC, there's the alumni PhD network, or just the alumni network as a whole, which I learned yesterday is the largest university network of any university school, which is crazy. So that in and of itself is a huge network. But then there's PhD student network. So for example, USC has like PhD student societies where all of the grad students, so it's the grad student council, where all of the grad students come together and meet each other and have socials and they do activities. So one of my grad students was vice president of the grad student council. I'm trying to think of the activities they did. Oh, they went to a baseball game. They had like Friday afternoon barbecues. So they did some things on campus and some things off campus. So informal networking opportunities builds friendships, not just, right, there's the in your lab networking, but then there's the across lab networking and across research group networking. And both of those are very important because a lot of my friends now actually weren't in my research group, they were in other research groups, which means now that I'm an adult, apparently, I have friends that were in other disciplines. And some of them are now program managers at funding agencies. And some of them are hedge fund managers, apparently, which is helpful for other reasons. They give me really good wine. Total side note. So, that kind of network is really helpful. Not just limiting yourself to just your research group. And not all schools have those types of networking opportunities. Also, not all schools have grad student councils that are as large as USC's grad student council, simply because we have a lot of grad students. And if you're relying on one or two people to organize events, then you're gonna get one or two events, right? Because students are busy. But if you're relying on 200 people to organize events, you're gonna get 100 events. That could be really cool, right? If you need one or two people, you're gonna get one or two barbecues, because those are pretty low-hanging fruit. If you have 200 people, you can get, a couple baseball games, a football game, as well as a hockey game. Oh yeah, they went to hockey game. Yes, I remember that one. I got invited to that one. I rarely get invited to things, understandably. As well as the barbecues and the on-campus events. They had an Earth Day event yesterday where they took pudding and put worms in it to make it look like worms coming out of dirt. I also got one of those, but I wasn't invited, but they brought it back to my office. So sometimes I get secondary. So does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Awesome. With a lot of anecdotes on the side. Sorry about that. Okay, so choosing an advisor. So first key thing is to determine what areas of engineering interest you, right? Because you don't want to choose like a fabulous advisor only to find out that they do something you totally don't care about. So it's very hard to think about engineering and what excites you. You can always approach this the reverse way. What do you not like? Usually everybody has a really long list of things they don't like. So the first strategy is, do you like experimental work or theoretical work? And usually you like one or the other, because most people fall into one of two categories, and then that allows you to just kind of cut out like half of the researchers, which is pretty significant, right? If you think about it, you're like slicing out 50% of the faculty. And then you can start going down, okay, I'm an experimentalist. Within the experimental branch, what type of experiments do you like? If you're a chemie, do you like synthesis type things? Yes or no? Some people are like, ooh, organic chemistry. I hated that class. Okay, cross out. Do you like bio-type things? So you can just start making a tree and think about what things do you like. Do you like research groups that are going to combine multiple fields? If you're like, maybe, maybe not, I'm a little afraid of that, put a question mark. If you aren't sure. And then if you come across faculty members that have descriptions on their webpage, and you're like, I don't even know what that is, don't immediately cross it off, right? Just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean you don't like it. I didn't have sushi until I was 19. I love sushi. sushi's great. You know, if I just crossed it off because I didn't know what it was, I'd be missing out on like a staple of my life now. So I didn't have poke until like 2 months ago. It's awesome. If you haven't had it, definitely should have it. There's a lot of it in LA. Okay, so once you figure out what you want to do, figure out what professors are super strong in an area, and figure out what schools are really strong in an area. So sometimes there will be a really awesome professor working kind of all alone by themselves at a school. And then sometimes there will be a school that has like a center of excellence, or like 5 faculty that are really strong. So for example, at USC, there are about 12 professors that do optics research. So USC is like, and there are like, I don't know, 10 faculty that do robotics research. So like USC is strong in robotics, strong in optics, so like they're kind of centers of excellence, right? But then we also have faculty members here kind of working kind of slightly by themselves. So like there's Steve Nutt, who does composites research. He's fabulous. We don't have like 12 faculty doing composites research, but Steve is great. And there aren't that many professors nationwide that do composites. But he's here, and he's in LA doing composites research because there's a lot of aerospace industry in LA. So he's able to work with like Boeing and Raytheon and a lot of industries to really enable his research. So even though he's here alone, he's not really alone. He's just alone at USC. Because he has all of these other people that he works with, they just aren't here. So then you also kind of have to say, you know, okay, so fine, there's only 1 faculty, but are they really just one? Or is there, you know, something that's underneath that I'm just not immediately seeing? And a lot of times it's not obvious if you don't like know the backstory. So then talk to people, right? All of you are undergrads. There's a high probability there are grad students, or you have faculty at your schools. Faculty are super helpful. We know things. I know things other than your technical classes. For example, one of my undergrads was applying to Urbana-Champaign, and she really wanted to work with a professor at Urbana-Champaign, and she told me. I was like, oof, don't apply to Urbana. You should apply to Harvard. Because that professor had just taken a job at Harvard and was moving. And so in order for her to work with that professor the next year, she needed to get into Harvard, not Urbana. But I knew that, right? She didn't know that. The professor hadn't announced it. It wasn't on the web page. So talk to your faculty. They know stuff, like important stuff that could, you know, truly be life-changing. We also know dirt, right? So another example. One of my undergrads wanted to work with a professor at Berkeley. This professor had an attrition rate of about 50% from his research group, meaning grad students would go, work in his research group, and leave after about 6 months, because he wasn't a very nice person. So I told my undergrad this. I was like, you shouldn't go there. You shouldn't work for this person. But there are like 4 other people that do similar research at other schools. So you can still do that awesome research, but with more supportive faculty advisors. And you'll be happier, and you'll actually get a PhD. Yay. Right? Because that's kind of the end goal. So she went, she's doing great, super happy. She actually defended in April, like the first week in April of this year. So she went to UCSD in the end. She's super happy. So that worked out. So talk to your faculty. We know both good things and bad things, but the bad things can be really important too. And then ideally narrow down your list to like 8 to 12. Depending on, and just like undergrad, you know, have the ones you're definitely going to get into, have the, you know, mid-tier, and then have like the REACH schools. So have like a whole gradient. The reason to have even the ones you think are super easy, I remember when I applied to grad school, one of my super easy schools I didn't get into. And there was a reason. It's because that year, I applied to material science. One of the faculty members left and changed schools. And because he left and changed schools, had a really large group, he left 30 grad students behind. So usually faculty members, when they change schools, they take their research group with them. However, he left and changed schools and became a dean. So he wasn't going to have a research lab. So he didn't take his students with him. So now there were 30 grad students in one department that had to find homes. and 30 grad students is an entering class. So that department didn't take any PhD students that year. So therefore, no one got admitted. It wasn't me, it was everyone got rejected. And I remember talking with a lot of other students because we were all very confused. Because for many students, it was our backup school. But it ended up not being a backup school. It ended up being a super impossible reach school. But there was no way to know that. Again, I should have talked to a faculty member. So, looking at professors. So, one way, do lit searches. So, who knows how to do a literature search? Usually, like no one, yeah, like 3 people. It's not who knows what Google Scholar is? Yay! Okay, so Google Scholar is a literature search. So if you think you want to work with a professor, look their name up on Google Scholar. If they aren't publishing, you can't work for them. As an example, in my department, so Yanis Yortos, who Brandy mentioned earlier, is the dean of the School of Engineering. He's also a chemical engineering professor in my department. He's the dean. He doesn't take students anymore. He's like full-time job is the dean. But students still ask to work for him. But I don't think he's published an engineering paper in like 5 or 10 years. So if you look up a professor's name and you see that they haven't published in like 5 or 10 years, odds are they're not taking students anymore. That's not saying they're like bad, right? Like Max Nikias, he's president of the university, he's an electrical engineer. He probably hasn't taken a student in 15 years. He's awesome. But he's not research active anymore because he's president of our university. So just do like a super fast sanity check, right? Like, are you applying to someone's group that you actually might get into? Talk with your professors, right? Make sure the faculty you want to work with are super nice. Then also look at the top 15 to 30 schools, right? And look at the top 15 to 30 ranked engineering programs, departments, and cast a wide net on departments. So one of the really important things that Brandy mentioned was that, at USC you can work across divisions and across schools. What she didn't mention is that you can get a PhD in chemical engineering, but your advisor can be in biomedical engineering, right? So just because you're getting your PhD in chemical engineering, don't just look at faculty in chemical engineering. So Stacy Finley is a professor in biomedical engineering. Her research is a little bit of computer science, a little bit of BME, a little bit of chemie, even a little bit of double E. So she has students and she recruits students from lots of different departments. But she's technically in BME. However, if a student who had a comp sci undergrad applied to the BME PhD program, they probably aren't going to do very well in the BME PhD program because they don't have all of those courses, right? So you can imagine jumping in day 1 into a BME PhD program and you're a comp sci student, you haven't taken biochemistry. You may not have taken like a bio class since you were a freshman in high school, right? And you're going to be in this program with all these students that were BME undergrad and have taken like 4 years of bio classes and still remember what like hybridization of DNA is. It's not going to be good. So get your PhD in comp sci and work with Stacy in BME. She'll be super happy to have you. It's hard for her to get comp sci students because a lot of students when they're undergrads don't realize that this is a thing, that this is possible. So be the student that knows it's a thing. It'll be your advantage, super secret advantage. And then look at the degree requirements, right? Make sure that you're applying to a department that you're going to be successful in, right? Make sure that there isn't some crazy degree requirement that you're like, what is this? I don't know. Then choosing a professor, talk to people, look at their research group. So most faculty members have pictures of their research group. Or you can see if there's 3 students, you can see if there's 50. Like Chad Merkin at Northwestern, I think his research group has 150 people in it. It's like no longer a research group, it's an enterprise. He may or may not ever meet you. If that's great, if you're super happy in that work environment, awesome. If you're not going to be happy in that work environment, you shouldn't apply to work in it. So again, it's really important to know that. And then, you know, choose a school, look at the academic background, not where the advisor is. Choosing a project. So there's,
I have a question about being in one department but then having your advisor from another department. So would you still just be taking classes from that one department but then be doing research in that subject?
exactly. So, for example, I have doubly BME, Chemie, and Material Science PhD students in my group, and all of them basically did their masters in their respective departments. So they did it in doubly BME, Chemie, or Material Science. So like the Chemies took all those Chemie classes, and the doublies took a totally different set of classes, because the doublies don't even know what mass transfer means. I mean, they obviously know it means like transferring masses, right? Because you can figure that out. But other than that, that's kind of it. Just like my chemies know that circuits involve a circuit. Yeah, and that's it. But then they do research in my lab, and my primary appointment's in chemie. And so they're in a chemie lab. And so that research class, like the last 2 units, that like Chemie 590 and Chemie 594, those units are taken in my lab. But all the other units are taken in their respective departments. And research units are research units. They're technically pass-fail. I mean, everyone passes, let's be honest. Yeah.
So your courtesy appointments across these different departments help facilitate that, but
Bingo.
Many of the faculty might not have that.
So there is a loophole to that. So getting a courtesy appointment, first off, is super easy. You ask, and then they give it to you. Okay. And that takes about 2 months. You have to justify why you need a courtesy appointment. I probably could not get a courtesy appointment in history. So the justification for a courtesy appointment is that my research aligns with the department, and that I can show I will contribute to the department, right? So then the motivation for me to get a courtesy appointment in a department is that I want to recruit students. And the reason why I want to recruit students is because I need students that have the expertise in that department's area, and I'm going to contribute to the department by hiring their students. And that's literally my justification. And it's like 4 sentences, and then they get approved. And by having a courtesy appointment, I can be their thesis advisor. Now, if I don't have a courtesy appointment, I can still hire the students. That has no impact on my ability to hire students. The difference is I cannot be chair of their thesis committee if I don't have a courtesy appointment. However, I have been like the unofficial chair or chair of thesis committees for other faculty members who've had like one-off students. In other words, they don't want to like write that 2-sentence email because it's super hard. Anyway, so then you have like a friend in a department, and you're like, oh, would you please just do this, and like in the future, if you ever need like a Mechie student, like I'll chair for you. So there's a lot of stuff like that goes on. So it's really not hard. So courtesy appointments are like 0%, which means the department doesn't have to pay me. To get a joint appointment, then the department has to pay me. So they actually cover part of my salary. That's harder because you're asking for money, right? Courtesy, it's free for the department. They get to count me as one of their faculty members. It's like a win for everyone. No one complains. But I have to justify why, which is why like history, they don't necessarily want an engineering professor. There would be no benefit. Unless I could say I'm doing like history of engineering or something. I don't know. I mean, I might be able to come up with something. Really creative. Okay, so choosing a project. So there are a couple different types of research projects. The 2 kind of main types have to do with having like a big overarching project. So for example, would be like the genome project, or developing a vaccine for HIV, or maybe finding the Higgs boson, or something along those lines, right? Like a huge, big challenge that a single PhD student isn't going to be able to do. And so then when you join the project, you're gonna do like a little tiny snapshot, and you will, the previous PhD student will train you on everything they've done to date, and then you will do a little bit, and then discover something, contribute, and then you will hand off your project to the next PhD student. So it's very linear, and you're all contributing to this huge challenge. So that's kind of one strategy. The second is kind of single efforts, so a bunch of individual projects all contributing to kind of a main theme. So for example, trying to understand how 2D materials work. And one student may look at molybdenum disulfide, one student may look at calcium fluoride, one student may look at graphene. So you will kind of own one of the materials and study one of the materials, and another student may own another material, and you're all gonna kind of have your own project, but you'll work in kind of a thematic space. So it kind of depends how you want to work, right? Do you like working as part of like a large team, having a project that kind of Lego snaps into a larger project? Or do you like working slightly more independently, kind of owning something that you can really like put your name on? So if we think about the genome project, when the first one was published, when the first paper on that was published, the author list was just the Genome Institute, because there were like 10,000 authors. And if they actually put every author's name, like that would have been the paper, because there was a page limit. So, it depends. Do you want to be in that kind of paper, or do you want to be a paper where it's going to be like you and your advisor? But then that's going to be more work, right? Because you're going to have to contribute a little bit more. So it really depends on what makes you super excited. So factors, how do you get in, right? You're all prepared to sign up. What now? So getting into undergrad, right? It was basically, I'm sure you may or may not want to hear this. It was basically determined by three things. So your GPA and your SAT or ACT, depending on your school, and your SAT 2s, if you remember those, and your extracurriculars. I mean, the first two were the main, but your extracurriculars, which, how many of you remember trying to fit in as many extracurriculars as humanly possible into your life when you were in high school? I remember doing that. It was horrible. And after that came like awards and honors and all of that. And then the nth thing on that list were rec letters. Short of getting like a rec letter from President Obama, it didn't really make a difference. All rec letters look pretty much the same for high school students. Jane Doe got an A in my class. She asked great questions. She came to class every day. She contributed. She was great and brilliant, and she will do well at your institution. Something along that line. They usually wax on poetic for like another paragraph, but it still looks like that. So getting into master's program. It's still GPA and now GRE. So who knows what the GRE is? About half of you. Okay, so the GRE is the graduate record exam. The graduate record exam is pretty much identical to the SAT. It's taken by everyone who wants to go to graduate school, not just scientists and engineers, which means the history majors and the English, I pick on the history majors a lot. The history majors and the English majors and the, lit majors, which are kind of the same as English, philosophy majors, they all take it as well, right? So they can't suddenly bump up the math because the history majors haven't taken, PEs. So the math is pretty much the same. Same with the English portion, right? But probably none of you have been reading, Dickens and Dostoevsky for the last 4 years, or studying your vocab for the last 4 years, whereas they have. So you're probably not going to do very well on the verbal. You might want to think about perhaps reading a couple great books, just to remember words, like actual words, as opposed to therefore and thus, and as can be seen, as opposed to those phrases, which probably appear a lot in your writing. And the English majors do very poorly on the quantitative, whereas usually science and engineering majors kick butt. So when you take the GRE, If you're getting like the 60th percentile on the verbal, don't panic. If you're getting the 60th percentile on the quantitative, yeah, you should retake that sucker. Yeah, just retake it. The key thing to remember is it's electronic. You take it on a computer, and it's adaptive, meaning the first 3 to 4 questions are super important. They determine if you get the hard one, the medium one, or the easy one, and you can't course correct. So if you miss one of the first 4 questions, then you can, or all 4, then you're going to end up on the easy route, and your score will be low. If you miss like one of them, you're going to end up on the medium route, and your score is also not going to be great. So the first 4 questions of each section, super important. You need to make sure you do well on those. So take your time on the first couple, and then that will assure that they will be in like the top. Don't like rush on those. That's where most people make the mistake. Is that they're like, oh my god, I'm not gonna have enough time, and then they miss one of those. So make sure you hit the shoe in to get the top, because then like you can't hit the middle. So then for PhD, again, your GPA, I mean your GRE is still in there too, but it's really your research and your rec letters. So the difference between the master's and the PhD, and why the research and the rec letters are really number 1 and 2, whereas in the master's, like your GPA, GRE, and work and research are kind of the top 3, is because your master's, you're just taking classes, right? Like you don't have to do research. And so the admissions office can determine if you're gonna succeed in your master's program based on if you succeeded in taking classes in your bachelor's program, right? Like that's the judgment. For a PhD program, in order to determine if you're gonna succeed, we need to see if you've succeeded in research, because your PhD program is based on research. And keep in mind, research is super vague, right? Like that could be succeeded in an internship, succeeded in any kind of environment where you had to build something. Even like at USC, we have something called the Rocket Propulsion Lab, which is a student club where they build a rocket and launch it, and they actually just recently hit a record. That is considered research, because they had to design and build and launch it, so they had to do some research. So research is very broad in terms of its description, but in terms of what it actually comprises, it's basically building something. Or if you're a theorist, doing math. I don't get theory. Yeah.
Is there a reason why they're like for PhD there's 1, 1, and 1? Are those
They're all equal.
Okay, equal.
Yeah. So 1, 1, 1 means they're all equal. So they're all equally important. I didn't like stick them all on a lot line. Also, the rec letters are really important. So when I get an application and it's from somebody I know or from somebody I trust, then I'm going to trust their recommendation letter. If it's from somebody I don't know, then I'm going to have to try to judge if I trust their recommendation letter. So that's why the rec letters are so important. So for a master's program, an admissions office makes an admissions decision. For a PhD program, I make an admissions decision because I'm admitting the student to my research group. So that's why suddenly the rec letters become a lot more important. That's why they go from being like at the bottom and kind of not mattering to suddenly all the way at the top. So those personal interactions become, the personal faculty-faculty interactions become a lot more important. Yeah?
So in regards to the rec letters, so like I've been looking at some different like applications, and so a lot of them are either say like just put 3 or put 5 and we'll look at your top 3. So like in my case, I have a faculty that I work with research and I work with since my sophomore year, and so he knows everything that I've done. And then I have some other faculty that can give me letters of recommendation to speak on like my academic. But I also do research at Zambia National Labs, and I've been working with
Put that.
And so well, my question was like, 'cause when I think about that, there's like three of my managers and people that work in my department that can really speak to that level. And I've heard 2 things, like only put 1 from Zambia and your other 2 need to be from faculty. That's senior. Is it okay if I put like 2? Because I feel like they can attest to my skills a lot better than a faculty can about, oh, this student did great in my class.
Yeah, I would put the ones from Sandia that can talk about you as a researcher, as long as like they talk about you as a researcher.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So you said narrow your school choice list down to like 8 to 12.
Mhm.
Is it reasonable to ask a professor to
Yeah.
invite like 8 to 12 recommendation letters?
Yeah, after I've written one, I use the same one.
Okay.
So writing the first one, super hard.
Okay.
Because a recommendation letter, at least from me, for an undergrad for grad school, is 2 to 3 pages. I may tailor it a little bit for each school. So for example, if I write a recommendation letter for a student that's applying to a school I went to, I may add that in, saying like, I'm very confident that the student will succeed at this school because I went there and I know what students are like at this school. Or if a student is applying to a school and I know it's their top school, I will add that in. But otherwise, like, it's pretty much the same base letter, because I'm talking about the student success, right? So it's very similar. And especially now that rec letters are uploaded electronically, not with envelopes, which was horrible. It only takes like 5 minutes to submit a letter. I always ask students, so once you start an application and once you enter my information and hit save, the professor is emailed a link. So I ask students to try to just take a Saturday and start all of the applications, so then I get all the links at once, so then I can save them. So I don't get like a link on Monday in August, and then a link on Friday in September, and then a link on Monday in October, and they're like all scattered, and then I have to try to go find them all. Because I will usually take a Saturday and just submit all the letters, so that I make sure I get them all submitted and I don't miss one. So if you send them to your faculty in bulk, it will make them very happy and they can be more organized and they won't forget. Super important. Other questions? Yeah.
How early, do you recommend, asking?
July or August. So I look for GPA, GRE to a little bit, not verbal. I look at the school they went to, but more the research they did, right? Because not every school has research. I look at what they did during their research, because obviously not every school does the type of research I do. So I'm not going to hold that against a student. But I look to see the type of research. In other words, did they do theory research? Did they do experimental research? Did they do research that I know is fraught with difficulty? And did they stick with it? Because that shows that even when something doesn't work, they don't give up, which is like a fundamental personality trait, which is really important in an experimentalist. And then I look at their rec letters, and I look for, again, personality traits in the rec letters. Talking about, did they show initiative? Did they come up with creative ideas? Or were they acting more like a lab tech and constantly being told what to do? And some faculty members, that's just how they treat their undergrads, so I also try not to hold that against an application. But I try to take a much more holistic picture. And then I choose the top 10 to 15 applications. And then I circulate just the CVs, not the whole application, not the letters, just the CVs to my research group, so to my current students. And then I let my current students vote. Oh, I also take into account extracurriculars, are they a photographer, are they a runner, are they, I don't know, the other things, right? Because that's gonna bring a certain kind of extra thing into my research group, all right, an extra just ambiance. And then I let my students vote on the top 3 to 5, and then I have Skype interviews with them. It's a very long process. And then I make offers. So I usually make offers to 2 to 3 students a year. But every faculty member has a different process. Yeah. So I narrow it down from about 8 to 900 to 2 to 3. So, yeah, it's a lot. So, in a PhD program, your school will pay for both your tuition and give you a stipend. Right now the stipend is about $30K a year. There are also external fellowships. So the benefit of applying for an external fellowship is you get paid more, which is always a bonus. Also, it's nice to get an award, right? Awards are great. They make your CV look wonderful. So the standard 3 external fellowships are NSF, NDSEG, and HERTZ. So NSF is the National Science Foundation, NDSEG is the National Defense Science and Engineering Graduate Fellowship. The NDSEG, there's no military service required afterwards, so that's super important. There's a similar one by Department of Defense called SMART. SMART has military service required. And Hertz is by the Hertz Foundation. So these three have engineering branches. They are due, the applications are due in the fall. So NSF, I believe, is usually due like the first or second week in November, and the NDSCG is usually due in like December-ish. Hertz, I think, is usually due late October, but keep in mind these dates change every year. So I would strongly recommend applying. A lot of students, so the Hertz you can only apply when you're a senior, I believe. The NSF and the NDSCG, although they were talking about expanding that to first year grad students as well. The NSF and the NDSCG, you can apply when you're a senior undergrad as well as first and second year grad students. But the NSF, I believe you can only apply when you're either a first year or a second year grad student. However, for both of them, it is easier to get it when you're an undergrad. The bar raises. So don't think, oh, if I apply next year, I will have a better shot. No, it will be harder because they expect more. And fewer senior undergrads apply. Apply now. It will be easier. Yeah. So that's it. If you have any more questions, please ask. All PhD students are fully funded, their tuition and their stipend for their PhD. And right now the minimum stipend is, I believe, $29,700, I think. I could be off by 500 either way. So, yes. But that is the policy from Giannis, from our dean, from Dean Rotzos. So, all of the faculty, we step in line. Otherwise we all get in trouble. In other words, our salaries get cut. It's very direct punishment. Yep.
Another thing is, with an admissions letter, do we already know which professors are interested in us, or is that something that you visit later and secure?
So this is something you should all know. When you get admitted to a PhD program, there's a visiting weekend, and the school flies you out, and it's a two-way. At that point, you are interviewing the school, right? Because you've been admitted, and now you have a chance to go and meet the faculty and see which faculty you would want to work with. With the admissions offer, you were told like which faculty members, because some departments you're kind of sponsored or nominated by a specific faculty member, but you were not, like, at that stage, you're not committed to that faculty member. So you can still swap. So during visiting weekends, you can come out, you can meet faculty, you can meet students, you will get to tour the campus again when the Festival of Books isn't going on, so you'll actually see things. And usually it's 2 days, so you'll have one meal, one like dinner with students, one dinner with faculty. It's really important to ask lots of questions, because this is kind of a bunch of students from a bunch of different fields. That will be like all the students that have been admitted to your department. So you'll also kind of get like a sneak preview of like who would be your entering class, who would be your classmates, like who would you be hanging out with for the next 5 years? Do you like these people? Like, do you see yourself mirrored in these people? And ask the questions like, I'm thinking about working for Megan McCain. She's BME faculty. What is she like as an advisor? By the way, she's super nice, which is why I used her as an example. So she does awesome research too. So ask those questions. And ask. There are usually student panels, on like student life. Right? Like, where do students live? How much is rent? Like, we're paying you, 29 or 30,000, somewhere in that range. Is that enough to live on? Right? It is. We did that math. Our students aren't starving. Don't worry. Our students eat. They even go out and do things. So like ask all of those questions. Because they're very important questions. So, like I have an undergrad who got into EPFL, and they pay. So EPFL's in Switzerland, in Lausanne. They pay $70,000 a year. He may or may not be able to live on $70,000 a year because it's Switzerland, and Lausanne is like the resort city. So we're still doing the math on that, and he has to pay for healthcare as well. At USC, we pay for your healthcare. So there's like a lot of things to consider when looking at like a number. Yep.
So You talked about going through the master's and then straight into the PhD. What happens if you get your master's and then
You're not happy, you decide you want to?
yeah, you decide you want to do your PhD? Do you start over, or do you just continue without the classes? Or
So if you apply to a master's program, you get your master's, and then you know, let's say halfway through your master's, you decide you're interested in a PhD, then you can start talking to faculty members and say, like, I'm interested in continuing in a PhD program, would you be my advisor? There is like an application process because you have to like officially get admitted into the PhD program, but I'm not gonna say a lot of master's students do it, but master's students do this. Like, it is a thing. It isn't as though you can't. But most master's students come wanting to get a master's, so it doesn't come up very often. I would say maybe 2 to 3 students in chemistry and material science go start in the master's program and then transfer into the PhD program every year. And our PhD program is maybe 40. So it's like 10-ish%, it's like 5 to 10%. So it's not insignificant.
what if you get the master's though and like go work and then later you want to do the PhD?
So if it's at the same school, it's super easy because the credits will directly credit. The courses will directly credit. You can just go straight in. If you change schools, it can be a little harder because the coursework requirements will be a little different. In like chemical engineering, the coursework is pretty much standard. In electrical engineering, the courses required can be a little different. In BME, the courses can be totally different. So it kind of depends on what your field is, which is...
Electrical engineering.
Okay, yeah, so you might be able to get like 1/2 to 3/4 credit if you went to USC and then went to a different school. And that would be like if you went to UCLA and then went to Berkeley. Like every department kind of has different requirements. Because usually what happens is there's base core classes and then there's those elective classes. And the ratio of core to elective is different. A lot of times you could like test out sometimes, like it's, you know, every school has their own thing that they want you to do. Yep. Other questions? Yep.
Hello, my name is Okia Sewe, junior chemical engineering from Howard University. My question is, let's say you get admission to the PhD program and get a fellowship, but after the master's part, you decide you don't want to do it anymore.
What happens? So you can leave, right? We aren't gonna like handcuff you to the lab. It's always sad when a student decides to leave. So I had a student who had a fellowship who was also in the Air Force decide that she wanted to leave, which I got. But you know, it's always sad to see a student leave. So especially when you admit like such small numbers, then when even like one leaves, it makes an impact. Yeah.
What about like in regards to like a personal statement? What would be things to like include in that?
So in a personal statement, this is your opportunity to explain why you want to get a master's degree or why you want to get a PhD, right? So basically, what is this degree going to enable you to do? So what is your overarching life goal? And why is getting your graduate degree critical for you to implement your life goal? So if you want to become a professor, it is important to get a PhD to become a professor. That is step 1. If you want to go work in industry and lead a research group at an industry company, like, you know, I don't know, Northrop or Medtronic, in order to lead the team, you're going to need a PhD. If you even want to lead a sub-team, you're probably going to need a master's. You know, so what is your long-term career goal, and how does getting this graduate degree fit into that long-term career goal, right? So that needs to be in there. Also, how do you know that that's your long-term career goal? What have you done in the past that has led to your decision that this is your long-term career goal, right? Has it been your participation in past research? Has it been experience in industry internships and national lab internships? Has it been leadership position in clubs? Or like, how did you come to this conclusion? just as a side note, the worst answer for it's your conclusion is because my dad did it. That is not your decision, right? That kind of leads me to think it was your dad's decision, right? It needs to be from you, because getting a PhD is a long process. And if something's being motivated by your parent, then your parents aren't going to be in the lab with you. So I need it to be like your goal. So that's a key piece of advice. Anything else? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. One last thing. What you want to do your research on? Yeah, and ideally name faculty.
Okay, and then a little sub-question on that. So, also, like, a lot of the schools let you apply to 2 departments for, like, 1 application. Would that be, like, the same personal statement, or
Yeah.
would you be able to adjust that since, like,
So I don't know if you can use the same personal statement,
yeah.
because I'm not that familiar with the application process, but it would be a very similar personal statement. Because I'm guessing it'd probably be like applying to electrical engineering and computer science, or chemical engineering and BME, or something along those lines. So like similar. Yes?
Hi, my name is Justin Chavez. I'm from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. So I heard when choosing an advisor, it might be beneficial to look at pre-tenure faculty, as they'll be more motivated to...
It totally depends.
Okay.
So there are pros and cons to pre-tenure faculty, just like there are pros and cons to post-tenure faculty. And it really depends. So pre-tenure faculty, right, there's always the risk that they won't get tenure, which is bad. So for those who don't know, tenure is an up or out decision, meaning at year 6, you either get tenure or you get to find another job. So pre-tenure faculty, there's always the risk that they won't get tenure, and then you will be left without an advisor, which is a big gamble. But obviously they're very motivated to publish, to make sure the research works, to write all of that. At the same time, that means that their motivation is going to come down on you, because their job is on the line, so then they're going to want to make sure that you're producing as much as possible, which can also often result in a very stressful work environment, but it will also make you very productive. So, it kind of turns into a feedback loop. Now, the pro for post-tenure faculty is that they are quite stressed, right? They have a job, but this can often lead to slacking. So this gets to talking to current students, right? Current students will be able to tell you if the pre-tenure faculty member is creating a very stressful work environment, or if they're creating a very relaxed but yet productive work environment, if they're encouraging their students to be creative, and by creating a happy work environment by default, it's becoming productive, right? Google, very productive, right? So there are lots of clubs, right? So like USC has the Rocket Propulsion Lab Club, which for aerospace students is almost better than any research that they would actually get in a lab, because it's hands-on building, designing, shooting off rockets. There are similar clubs for a lot of the other fields. There's also like a race car building club where they actually build it, design it, and race it. For the BME students, there's Engineers Without Borders, as well as like a World Health something or other club. So I would suggest getting involved in one of the clubs that builds something and engaging in it and making it happen. That would be like the fastest way to get involved in something now. You can try to get in a research lab for next fall. It's probably too late for this summer. But like for right now, I would try to get involved in a club that's building something. Most clubs that build stuff are always looking for people who are going to be enthusiastic and are actually going to contribute, as opposed to just sign up. A lot of students just sign up, just to be able to put it on their resume that they were a member, but they don't actually do stuff. Anything else?